Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. It may not be morning for you when you're watching this, but it's late morning for us. Wanted to welcome everybody to another session of Pastor Doug's virtual VIP midweek Bible study. And as the name says, you are VIPs. You're very important to us, and we wanted to take the time to just share a few of our follow-up thoughts on the message that we shared with you on Sunday, and let you know that we're thinking about you, we care about you, love you guys, pray for you all the time. And this message series about where is God when I'm hurting is kind of a special one. As I mentioned in the very first session, that applies to everybody because every single person has some hurts in their lives and they have some hurts built up. And I don't know about you, but I have said before, God, where are you? What's going on? I don't know if that's ever been your experience, Doug.
Oh, sure. Sure. Everybody, I'm sure.
That's
That's all
it.
I got.
The reason
If you wanted more, I'm sorry, came to the wrong place.
I did that on purpose. That's not fair. We don't. You know what's funny is we don't have a plan.
Never.
No, we got the mess. We got all my message notes from the message last week, and we look in there. We pick out a couple of scriptures that we want to share, and then Doug will say, "Well, what are we going to talk about?" And then we start. So we never really, because I want it to be kind of impromptu. I want it to be a little bit off the cuff here of what's actually on your mind. But I know in my life, honestly, there's been times where back when my father died that I said, what's going on here? How is this right? I've said things to God like, this isn't fair. And I've said things like, is this what you get for living this kind of life and doing what you think the Bible tells us to do? And this is what you get. So I don't know about you, but I've questioned God before. Have you?
Of course. Of course. Why? That's the question we all have is why? Whenever things don't go the way we want them or expect them to go, there's a health issue, a relationship problem, we lose loved ones. The first question is why? And of course, it doesn't seem fair. But we're looking at it through our eyes, our perspective, and of course that's all we know. So that's natural and human. But the goal and the attempt is to try to see things through God's eyes, and that doesn't mean that we don't hurt or grieve. That just gives us a different way of looking at things, and gives us hope that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Share the scriptures with them, Doug, because I think they're powerful. One of them is my favorite. One of my favorites, if not certainly in my top two or three, is Romans 8:28.
Romans 8:28, and let me just say for anyone who might be new to Christianity, what that means. The Bible is made up of 66 books. There's the Old Testament that has 39 books, the New Testament, fast math here, 27 books. So Romans is a book out of the New Testament. It was written by the Apostle Paul, and 8:28 is the 8th chapter, the 28th verse. So that's how we navigate the Bible, and that's how we can refer to things, and you can know what that means.
So you go to the Bible, you look for the book of Romans, you'll turn to that page, and then you go to the 8th chapter, and everything's numbered, and then it'll be verse 28.
And here it is. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And then you want the next one is out of Galatians. That's another book in the New Testament. It's also written by the Apostle Paul to the church in Galatia. And this is chapter 3, verse 4. Have you gone through all of this for nothing? Is it all really for nothing? Suggesting there was more to gain from the suffering.
See, these scriptures don't lie, folks, and if you look at Romans 8:28, and it talks about being called to God's purpose, and that's a qualifier. So here's the thing we can rest assured of: when we have made a commitment to God, we've accepted Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. Then another step is that we commit to learning more and trying to be like Christ. We make that commitment. Then God says, I'm going to take care of it. All things are going to work for good. And so that means the bad things, that means the good things, that means the not so good things. All will work for good. What's the qualifier? If you're called according to his purpose. You've accepted Christ. And see, listen, a lot of people that I have found and what I've learned is they accept Jesus Christ because they don't want to miss heaven. And that sort of thing. If I can do that, then I've got heaven, and then I'm okay, and I'll just deal with whatever is left. But to gain the value of the Bible, to gain the value of the promises of God, you need to be committed to his purpose. What would you define, Doug, God's purpose as?
Excuse me, it's a big question, but his will for our lives. And God has a plan and a purpose. We were designed, as Pastor always teaches, with a specific design and purpose, a plan and purpose for our individual lives. Discovering what that is often a challenge because we want things our way. Oh, that's more fun. I want to do this instead of that. Well, the more you learn about God, read his word, study his word. And when I say study, it isn't just, okay, well, I read it 3 times. I know what the words say. What does it really mean? And this Romans 8:28 verse is a perfect example when it says all things are good. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that all things are good. It says that in all things, God can work them for good. So it's not saying that things are good, but what can come out of good and bad situations is part of his purpose, and it will be good eventually.
See, and you look at our church and you try to understand, we're trying to show and instruct and teach and lead in that process of being called to his purpose, finding your purpose with ease, the training, the program that's broken down, that takes you a step at a time from the beginning of membership and learning your way, and then understanding what the church is all about, and then finding your actual purpose, and then and stepping up to serving roles and positions within our church. And there's a plan here and a process, and we're just not meeting on Sundays and patting each other on the back and I'll see you next week. There's a process involved that is very healthy and very formative, that takes you along this pathway of building God's kingdom. And then we have things like, our Bible reading programs, our midweek Bible studies. All of that is built in to help you find your purpose. But along the way, believer or not, committed or not, church going or not, you're going to have trials and you're going to have problems. And so I love the concept, as I shared in week 1, is when these problems and disasters come our way, we need to look at them as a course direction, perhaps, that God is leading us on, not punishment. This isn't being punished by God. This is being corrected by God. So all things work for good. So God takes the good, the bad, the ugly, all things, choices that you have made, choices that other people have made that influence you, choices that your country or your society has made that influence in you. He's taken all of those and working them for good if you've accepted Jesus Christ and you're trying to build your life around God's principles. That's how it works. But it's still hard. We can tell you it's still difficult. You look at it and say, well, pastor's got an inside track to God and he's got it made and this is pretty easy. And I want to tell you it's not. It's not any easier, maybe even more difficult and from a different perspective than what normal life is. However, we understand the basis for what God is trying to do. And he's trying to show us and teach us. The big question is, Doug, and this is a question that I struggled with early years, is trusting God's judgment, being able to just turn it over and say, well, I'm concerned about it. I'm not worried. Well, yeah, worry is concern. Concern is worry. And how do we just turn it over and we trust God? Doesn't mean that we don't care. Doesn't mean we're forgetting about it. It just means we're lowering that worry level down and trusting God. How do we do that?
Well, it's very hard. But the bottom line is that we all have some level of the sin of pride within us. We want things the way we want them, what makes sense to us. And what makes sense to us is based on what we've learned over life through either studies, schooling, experiences, what people in our lives, our family and friends, the influences they've had on us. So what makes sense to me, like, okay, well, I should do it this way. Well, that's never worked in the past. So why am I going to try doing it again instead of doing it God's way? Well, what's God's way? Well, it's pretty clear if you read the Bible. God's way is not always easy, but it's pretty clear in doing things the right way. And to put it in a nutshell, not that this encompasses the entire Bible, but if you put others first, if you put their interests above your own, that's probably going to be the right way, because God put his son above us. He sacrificed his son for us. So if we put others first, we are in effect acting like him, where we're going to think, well, I don't really matter as much as that person. That's sharing God's love.
It's kind of the concept too. Rick Warren puts it this way. He said it's better to learn from the experiences of others than to have to experience it all yourself. And so if you thought about this, and one message he did many, many years ago, decades ago, and he was saying this, and he said this comment: if every generation did not make the mistakes of the previous generation, you would have a perfect generation. They didn't make the mistakes that people before them and the generation before them made. They got it all figured out. But we don't do that. We don't learn from the mistakes of others. We don't learn from the mistakes that our parents made. We don't even learn sometimes from our own mistakes, much less everybody else. But what if we did? You know, taking your ministry and your biggest hurt out and sharing it with other people is helping them deal with their biggest hurt, maybe. That's what ministry is all about. And this is what God is saying: look, I can take the things that are bad in your life and I can work them for good. I can have it work itself out. Our issue is trusting God to do that. Can you trust him to do that? Are you trusting him to do that? Will you trust him to do that? Because it kind of takes your role away a little bit that we're maybe used to. We're controlling the anxiety. We're controlling the angst. We're controlling the worry. And we need to hang on to it because we feel like if we're thinking about it, maybe it's helping some way. If I just relax and kind of let God have his way, my trouble is exactly that. I'm still thinking about it, but I don't worry about it. I'm trusting God. I'm still aware of it. It still matters to me, but I'm not letting it tie up and ruin my day. I'm going to trust God to lead the way. And that's what you need to do. Final statement, Tall Doug, that you're not that tall.
Well, worry does sort of take over in our lives a lot. And when we get upset and emotional, our brains just don't function like they're supposed to. It's hard to think clearly when we're emotional. So if you can sort of scale down the emotion and the worry, then the path forward may become clearer and easier. So trust God, give yourself a break, realize that he's here for you. And he has all the answers, all the power, all the ability. Just turn it over to God.
Things feel better. Things look better. Well, some things do look better. Some things don't. Some things look. You ever
There's
see
no
your silhouette?
change. Oh yeah, yes, I know. In high school, Coach Towns used to call me Banana Nose. So there's no mystery there. Yes, when I make a mistake, come on, Banana Nose.
That's not what I meant. I meant how your hair kind of curls down.
Only you, buddy. Like, only you make an issue of this. It goes where it goes. It's got a mind of its own. I don't worry about it.
He kind of flicks it like that.
No issue. I don't worry about it.
We love you guys. Trust God. It's the best way to live. You know, we're sitting here with over 120 years of experience in life, and we've both been through it.
How old are you?
And we know what's tough and what isn't tough. And you know what? Even though we both are in positions where we could go and live our lives and enjoy retirement. Doug's retired from American Airlines, and we could go retire and just enjoy the grandkids, play some golf a little bit, or try to play golf, you know, ride our bikes or whatever without falling if I could do that. But we didn't want to do that. We want to be involved in your life. We want to try to help you. We want to continue to share the good news of Jesus Christ with as many people that will listen. And so we're here to tell you we love you. We care about you. Hope to see you on Sunday. I'll be finishing up the series on Where's God When I'm Hurting. Hope you'll join us. God bless you and have a good day.